You learn by doing. That's a pretty true adage. And I had never done research on this. This is an academic study by 3 economists, one from Vanderbilt, one from Yale, and one from the University of Chicago. Now, MTSU might have produced some Nobel laureates in economics. I'm not sure. These schools certainly have. And apparently, the study of the economic impact of colleges on the local economies is kind of a cottage industry. I mean, it's something that people, that wheel wasn't invented for this issue. The full text of this is listed at this link at the top. It's a little heavy. It's not as heavy as a master's thesis, but the full text is about 30 pages long. This is about an 8-page thing. I've highlighted some things. I'd like you to read it at your own leisure. But let me just to show you, and this, I didn't write this. This is written by these eminent economists. Okay, here's a passage, and read it all at your leisure. Such studies, like the one from MTSU, such studies often claim local benefits that imply annualized rates of return on local investment exceeding 100%. We address problems in these studies. If these economic impact studies were conducted at the level of accuracy most institutions require faculty research, their claims of local economic benefits would not be so preposterous. And preposterous is not usually a word you hear in an academic study. They felt, led to use it. And as a result, trust in and respect for higher education officials would be enhanced. Colleges and universities often claim they create jobs, boost tax revenue, and stimulate the local economy. The purpose of many of these economic impact studies is to bolster fundraising. And that's actually legitimate, but when it's used to take public money, that's egregious. We do not wish to vilify unduly the colleges that conduct studies of their economic impact, but we believe that the nature of the fundamental mission of colleges compels them to apply higher standards of transparency and accuracy in studying themselves. Newspapers are replete with estimates of purported economic impacts of the opening of a casino, a trade show, or a national political convention. In some cases, these claims are harmless self-promotion, but in many instances, exaggerated impact studies are used to secure public funding that competes with other social agendas. Now, if we haven't just demonstrated this around this small room, I'm in another dimension. I think we've just demonstrated that. This goes on. It's all, we left out one. It says, sure, $1, might produce $2, but, an investment of $1 in a local catfish restaurant would do the same. I mean, it's not, investment with people using it reasonably, if it doesn't create economic return, we got an issue in this nation. It just goes on and on. Again, the full text is available to you. Let's go over to paragraph 9, conclusion and recommendation. We see 2 reforms for more transparent and useful college economic impact studies: presentation and substance. Regarding presentation, studies of public universities should stop claiming for every $1 the state legislature spends, the university returns X dollars to the state. At best, such statements are meaningless. At worst, they may delude decision makers into thinking incorrectly that the marginal return on investment in higher education is several orders of magnitude more than the returns on other public investments. And listen to this next one, because the numbers that I saw, I said, I guess I just need to quit working. They don't need my economic impact. They're carrying all the load. If the returns to higher education were as high as these statements imply, states and the private sector would be building universities frantically. Okay. Again, full text, economists from some of the most famous universities in the nation. So I had a strong suspicion that this project was wrong from a philosophical perspective. I knew that it was wrong in the way that it was handled, you know, vis-a-vis the taxpayer and the transparency. Now we get this opinion from the Tennessee State Comptroller's Office, and that's not like the Better Business Bureau people. This is a state agency that your taxpayer money does go to pay for. You know, much like the TBI, much like the Department of Revenue, they're there to make sure society runs as it should, not like in the good old days, in the bad old days where people just did whatever they did until someone, you know, until kind of might made right, someone came to straighten them out. You could read this whole text. This is the entire letter. I've condensed 2 pages into one letter. This project is on the shakiest, this proposal as proposed is on the shakiest of legal grounds, if not outright illegal. So, you know, to me, that's strike 3. I mean, you had a hue and cry from the public, like the mayor said. I mean, how many times does an issue run that direction? You know, you've had, you know, you've been demonstrated now that, you know, that 83 million, you know, you don't have to have a PhD in math or economics to understand that. And now, how many of the council people, by raising hand, have seen this from the comptroller's office? We'll read some highlights if you want to. Okay, dear Mr. Lawson, this is from the comptroller's office. I have run your question past our legal staff in the responses below. And I'm not going to read all this. All of this is meaty. Please read all of this. It's not that long. Cities are authorized by TCA 654-111 to appropriate funds to nonprofit charitable organizations or nonprofit civic organizations. But it must be in compliance with the statute and any guidance provided by the comptroller. Here's your letter. However, the authority under the charter is subject to the restrictions found in that law, as the statute is a statewide law of general applicability related to municipal donations to nonprofits. When a conflict exists, and they're talking about a disagreement, the state statute must control. You know, this is a legal opinion from their legal department. And then down there, again, it's all meaty, please read it. Down there, I guess the 4th paragraph. The city's consideration for this ordinance should not be limited to the information found in the annual report. For example, as seen by the inclusion of the reversionary clause in the proposed ordinance, the end result of the project, student housing and retail space, is speculative in nature. Now, I thought I was the only one person using the word speculative. I didn't write this. I didn't suggest the verbiage. If the university does not proceed with construction, which it is not bound to do under the ordinance, it is presumed that it will retain title to the land. Although the university would have to return the donated funds, it will have received a no-interest loan to purchase the land for up to 4 years. Also, regardless of what the university does with the property, after it begins using the property, it can become tax exempt. Cumberland pays no property taxes. I don't know if everybody knew that, but that's the case. Upon the approval of an application for exemption filed by the university. Lastly, no benefit would inure to the city or to the general welfare of its citizens if the university just held onto the land and subsequently sold it to another buyer. Even if the university proceeds as planned, it must be shown how the purchase of the land, which is a condition precedent to the construction of student housing, whose primary purpose benefits the university and its students, and any retail will benefit the general welfare of the city's residents. Not the Board of Trust of Cumberland, not the people over in that neighborhood, everybody. Everybody in this city has to be benefited by this purchase. And therein lies the rub. That's why we're here. That's why people feel so emotional about this. And there's more. I could go on. It's all that meaty. Again, you know, it's certainly on leaky, you know, you can speak to the counselor and see what his opinion. If it's not on shaky legal ground, if not outright illegal, you know, I'm not able to read the plain language of English. You know, it's clearly that. I know we're in a representative democracy, and what that means is we're not polling every citizen in the city of Lebanon individually to see where they stand on this. You know, this is 6 council people with the mayor in a possible tie break, or with the power of veto. That's what the charter says. That's the way it is. I know you as individuals feel certain ways about this, but in a representative democracy, there's a point at which when the hue and cry and the strong emotion is at such a level, the voice of your constituents have to be heard, because if you don't listen to it and you vote against them, you know, you've told them what I've been told. Well, you're just misinformed. Well, where I come from, misinformed is just another word for stupid or idiotic or other words that I won't say in mixed company. So anyway, I implore the council to reconsider this. You know, the relationship among us is at risk over this. Cumberland University is at risk over this. And I've told everybody that it would listen to me, you'll thank me in a year, and the worst thing that could happen is if you pass this. And we haven't even gotten started if this thing gets passed. So I beg you to reconsider for all these reasons. I'd like to thank everyone for taking some time out of their day to come here. You know, I apologize for getting so passionate and emotional in public, but every once in a while, you know, contrary to popular rumor, I don't spend all my time making money, and my heart is slightly bigger than a walnut. And I get fired up, and I'm fired up on this one. So anyway, you know, I told you 12:30, it's 12:22. Use the rest of your afternoon as you see fit. And I really, really appreciate you coming out. Jesse Brooks will be down